Krown Produce supplying select Canadian retailers. Krown Produce, proud sponsors of Canada West Football and Canadian University Countdown on Shaw.
Hey, welcome back to Krown Canadian University Countdown. I'm Ryan Sullivan. For this week's Pro Profile, I got a little help. We head over to Cowtown. We check in with former Calgary Dino turned Stampeder, Matt Walter.
You know, geographically, the transition wasn't much, just a walk down the hall. I mean, there's always learning every day, but it definitely started off pretty heavy at the beginning. But once you get used to it and get hit around a few times in games there, it gets just like any other football game, just gotta feel it. Everyone's pretty fast, everyone's more disciplined, everyone's better coached. I mean, it's just the next level, and you know, it definitely takes, if you have any weaknesses, you get exposed, so it takes definitely a high level of, you have to be prepared and a high level of intensity just to compete.
And your Calgary Dinos are the 72nd Party Cup champions.
Well, there's no better feeling than you know, being able to hold the trophy above your head, no matter what trophy it is, and if it's a conference championship, you know, so what? It's still a championship, and having that happen is just one of the greatest feelings you can get, and I'm glad I had the guys to share it with. It's just because I was able to see the program grow and start from really a losing program to a program that's now, you know, the heavyweight in the conference and in the nation. So that, just seeing the growth alone was rewarding for me, and there's also a lot of individual moments. Playing 2 Vanier Cups obviously is a big deal for me, so it was definitely a very rewarding experience. Glad I got to play at UC. Whether I was in the university or in the pros, the backup or the starter, I always train as hard as I can, you know, always be ready for any opportunity that comes. So nothing's really changed in that regard. It's just more actually just keeping it up, you know, not getting complacent and getting in there every day. I try to set the bar as high as possible. I've always had that mindset, so, you know, in my mind, I feel I can be a starter in this league at some point. Obviously, not anytime soon, but at some point in the future, I mean, I can see myself playing a starter role. And for now, just, you know, doing whatever the coaches tell me to do, constantly improving, building, and for now, just, you know, getting out there and playing special teams. Just being able to represent for my city. I grew up here, went to school here, university here, so it's nice to be able to play for my pro team. And you know, for me, it's all about just keep on climbing and see how far I can get. And you know, if I can stay in this city my whole career, I'd love that. I started playing football when I was 7 years old, and I got out to McMahon when they had the AstroTurf, and I remember looking up at the speaker hanging there and wondering if it was going to fall on me. At that point, I was like, man, it'd be pretty cool to be playing this stadium as a pro. And you know, I just kind of got that stuck in my head and just did whatever it took to get to this level. And now, for me, it's just keep building, keep climbing.
All right, now last week our roundtable discussed attendance figures across the CIS. We're going to keep that going a little bit. Go inside the CIS with Conor the Beast Hammond, and let's talk privatized funding.
That's right, Ryan. You know, we've seen increased numbers throughout the CIS, including a record number of people showing up for a recent Regina Rams University of Saskatchewan Huskies game. But really, the real question is, how is funding playing a part in this?
The images are more common at the CFL level. Tens of thousands of people crammed into a stadium to go mental from opening kickoff to closing whistle. But what about collegiately here in Canada? Well, at one time in the CIS, watching football really wasn't that electric. However, not anymore.
And for the first time ever, Mac, you've won the Vanier Cup.
We've seen packed houses at the Vanier thanks to the partnership of the CIS with MRX and Associates. But thanks to the generous privatized support for some of its strongest gridiron programs, the bleachers at the regular season contest nowadays are being filled like sardines in a can. Currently, the CIS's attendance rivals that of their American cousins, with an average of just over 4,000 fans. A great example of that is in Saskatchewan, where the Huskies have definitely benefited from the generous financial donations made by alumnus David Dubé. Dubé says it's all about the entertainment value of the game day experience.
Well, I think it's going to take passionate, committed individuals that will challenge the status quo and really have a belief in the product, and that it has to be more than just the product. If the product was great enough, people would be coming out to see it. They want an entertainment package. They want to come and have a family night, a great time at the ballpark, and at a reasonable price, and I think we give that to them here.
Last week's University of Saskatchewan Regina Rams game shattered old records for attendance in the Canada West. Saskatchewan's numbers have risen each year in the last decade, and it looks like they'll continue to grow thanks to the private money shelled out by people like Dubé. Another program that has been benefiting from privatized funding is the University of Laval. According to JP Shoiry of acrofoot.com, for programs going that route, the money invested has great impact in the overall success of the product on the field.
That, allows you to be more competitive on the recruiting aspect, but mostly it's facilities-wise. You look at Laval right now, they have the biggest crowd year in, year out, but right now it's not that new stadium, the TELUS Stadium, with that inside field. So, money helps a lot in football.
University football north of the border may be a century old, but it appears to still be growing.
Thank you very much, Connor. Nicely done. Now let's get the roundtable discussion going. We welcome back Andrew Wadden and, of course, via Skype, JP Shoiry from acrofoot.com. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing well. Saw you earlier. The same.
Yeah, I've seen you for a few hours now, but nonetheless. Jim Mullen wished he could be here, but he owed the mob some money. We haven't seen him since. So now let's turn things over to JP right off the bat here. Keep this attendance discussion going. Now, obviously, numbers are very high across the East Coast as well. Why do you think that is, though? Is it because of the presentation, the nice uniforms? What are you thinking?
Well, I think, that there's been a big marketing job done around the league the past few years. So obviously, so the fans know a bit more about the teams. The media's coverage is a bit better. But down the line, it's all about performance. And what we see is an increased performance. Teams are playing well. It's a better game of football. More guys moving up to the CFL. So more enthusiasm around the game. So, I think the performance dictates the attendance. And right now, performance is on the rise. So is the attendance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look at UBC as a prime example. When they're winning, the fans come out. When they're not winning, maybe not so much. I think, JP, as well, things like in Vancouver where they have different sports, different pro leagues, that it kind of can weigh in on whether the fan wants to go out and see a certain brand of football. They can go see it professionally in Vancouver. So it's a little bit tougher in markets like that. You got to look at markets like Regina where football is king, but it's also one of the only things they do have. So it'd be interesting if they had, say, an NHL franchise in a city like Regina or Saskatoon, what it would do to numbers.
This is true, but I mean, you look at UBC's numbers, and they've never really been that strong in the past decade or so. But then you look at a team like Manitoba, for example. Yeah. They just got a hockey team there. They're still doing pretty well with numbers. They're doing a great job. Again,
though, I think it comes down to performance, and when you're winning, and people are coming out, and it's good all around. But, the Bisons have been decent over the years, but if they had themselves in, say, like Calgary territory, it'd be interesting to see where their numbers would go. And interesting enough, Calgary, though, can't really get the fan support, even though they are, if not the best team in the CIS, one of the best teams in the CIS.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we're not, no dispute, it is uniforms as well, right? Those are pretty
yeah. Uniforms weigh in heavy. I mean, look at Sherbrooke. Those are beautiful.
They've been getting better over the years. Now, speaking of Sherbrooke, Laval just dismantling Sherbrooke this past week, 48-10. JP, is there cause for concern here?
Oh, definitely. These past 2 years, you saw a Sherbrooke program that was on the rise, competing against Laval 2 years ago at the Dunsmore Cup. Last year, scoring almost 30 points against Laval at home, finishing second in the league. Right now, Sherbrooke, lost twice to the Carabins this year, lost to Laval last week. And, it's not like one of those tight games that you just come out of it, losing. It's just Laval pouncing on them, like you said, from the get-go right till the end. So right now for Sherbrooke, it's a unidimensional offense. They rely on the pass way too much, and they're predictable, so the defenses can adjust. And right now Sherbrooke kind of fell in that second tier of the RSEQ conference with Laval and Montreal on top. So a big second half of the season for Sherbrooke if they want to come out playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, with Sherbrooke and in Quebec in as a whole. It's almost like Montreal and Laval are really separating themselves, and it's like we're starting to see at least 4 teams separating themselves from the entire CIS pack in McMaster, Calgary, Montreal, and Laval. I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks in the RSEQ with Montreal and Laval facing off. It's going to be some fantastic football, and really we're going to see, I think, what the Carabins are made of.
Yeah, absolutely. And now sticking with the RSEQ here, JP, you've had to look as good a look at this as anybody. Right now you got 2 teams sitting at the top, undefeated, and then you got some guys in the middle tied up with 2 and 3 records there. Who can make some noise still as the season goes on?
I think you're looking at a strong RSEQ conference with 6 good teams. Like you said, there's the 2 top teams, and my prediction is probably Laval wins at home this week, Montreal wins at home next week, and you come up the season with 2 8-1 teams that kind of battle the points for and against to see who gets first. As for the other part, there's a 4-team group that really anybody can beat anybody in that group. McGill is the last place team right now, but they can come out and beat Bishop or Concordia or Sherbrooke any given day. So right now it's kind of an open battle with Sherbrooke having the weakest schedule for the second half. So you expect them to come out on top, but Bishops might squeeze in. They're on a 2-win streak, and they need to win their 2 next games because they finish against Montreal and Laval. But right now, it's kind of up for grabs, and it's going to be interesting to see, that next week matchup. Everybody talks about Montreal, Laval, but you want to see that Sherbrooke-Concordia game as well and see who comes out on top of that battle.
Yeah, but my question is this, though. Does it really matter? It's Laval and Montreal are really the cream of that crop, and at the end of the day, it looks like McMaster and Laval are on a collision course to meet in the playoffs, wouldn't you think?
I totally agree, and I've been having this discussion with my colleague Rémi Aboussoine, and really right now you're talking about 2 teams, Montreal, Laval. Everybody wants them to face off, this week, next week, and ultimately at the Dunsmore Cup. From what we've seen thus far this year, any other final would kind of be a disappointment because the other teams just don't compare to what Montreal and Laval bring to the table. So it's going to be interesting to see if Sherbrooke, can get some momentum going in those last 4 games. But right now it's a 2-team division.
Now, of course, it does matter a bit. Because, the better your program does, the better you can do with scouting and stuff like that. People want to come to that school. So I'll throw the same question I threw to JP to you, Andrew. You got 2 top dogs right now in the RSEQ. Who can make some noise still? Who can make, obviously, like you say, 2 teams, cream of the crop, but who can start to make a little bit of noise and kind of up their program's rep a little bit?
Well, you got to look at Queens, really. Queens is on a bit of a right path in terms of what they've got behind them with McPhee and Granberg and Chapdelaine. I think the biggest thing really, especially for teams that come from out west or players that come from out west, look at Garrett Sanvito. Why is he playing in Western? He should be playing in his hometown and playing for the Thunderbirds, at least in my opinion. But places like Western will give you an opportunity to compete every single year and to be, the best player that you can be. And if you're a running back, that's a powerhouse to come out of in terms of Western. So if you're, a player from out west or maybe from across country and you're looking at other programs, you're not even thinking to stay at home. You're looking at programs that you want to win at, and that's why Laval and Western and McMaster have been able to do so well. So it's harder for programs to kind of get those kind of players because of the fact that, they haven't really established themselves just yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll switch gears a little bit, talk a little OUA. First, I'll throw this one your way, JP. Then, of course, Andrew, you can weigh in. Gary Echeverry, head coach in Ottawa for the GGs there, getting the axe this week. Just kind of your thoughts on this. Is this because of, just he kind of lost the room a little bit, you think? Or is this just kind of a no-win situation?
I think that's, we've been hearing about it for 2 weeks now. Ottawa definitely not heading the way they want. It's been one of those glamour programs for a couple of years now. At 0-5, they're in the last place of the OUA. So Echeverry kind of comes in a hard situation, with all that movement, with Asselin leaving and everybody kind of leaving the program behind with no help. So you're looking at a veteran group of players. They have an imposed coach, and he comes in and changes the offense with a double wing offense instead of that spread offense, with which they've had success. So obviously a lot of pressure from inside the organization to get Echeverry out. Now it's all a matter of, will it matter something? Will Ottawa be able to turn it around? We'll see next week. But at 0-5, that's not what you're looking at for if you're a GG's fan.
And I've heard that they are on the hunt to get somebody that is going to be consistent for them to take the program moving forward. So, just positives really for Ottawa in, not a very positive situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, coming into that job, really there's not a lot of positives you can look at. You didn't really have the pieces to work with from the get-go. So really, do you put this one, I'm asking Andrew this one, sorry JP, keep you out of the conversation, I'm sorry. But do you put this one on the players, or do you put this one on the coach and the management, why he got canned?
Oh, I definitely put this one on the coach. And when you come in and change an offense the way that he did, and the players are not reacting to it, you have to be able to, wheel them back and get the players back involved, and he wasn't able to do it. So, they have to move forward now, and hopefully they get, the right person to come in and be able to take that program forward, because the GGs could really use it right now.
Absolutely. This concludes the roundtable segment, of course, for Andrew Wadden. Thank you very much. And JP Shoiry, is my Francais, it's getting a little better?
Yeah, it's getting better every week.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. From acrofoot.com, thank you very much for joining us. Let's take a look at the CIS big board after week 5. While consistency is the word, McMaster still top dog after week 5. For all of us here at Krown Canadian University Countdown, thank you very much for joining us. All our crew here, thanks a lot, guys. Did a bang-up job once again. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIS on shop, and of course on Twitter at CIS Countdown. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you next week.
Krown Produce supplying select Canadian retailers. Krown Produce, proud sponsors of Canada West Football and Canadian University Countdown on Shaw.